Hiya. Okay, sorry, I'm late for a moment there. I don't like being late. I like being, on time. I'm an eager beaver. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Welcome to the happiest Monday for the rest of your life. Well, maybe not, but it's a happy Monday. Why is it a happy Monday? It's a happy Monday. Okay, so I had a really productive weekend, and then I got really upset and disappointed this morning, like a crybaby, at the Insta of Grams, because I did a 4-page piece that on the weekend, and no matter what I tried to do, I couldn't get the thing to post. So I'm going to walk you through what I got done this weekend. Friday was, let's see. Okay, so Friday is where I posted this page. This is, okay, before I forget, I keep doing this. If you have a 1-page comic idea that you can put in 1 or 2 sentences, perfecto. Let me know. Put it here in the chat. Let me know in the comments. Put it on the comments of one of my social media outputs. And off we go. I take all comers. Right? There's frankly very few things I'll shut down. And they're usually kind of weird and creepy ones that, hey, yeah, come on. You don't need a 1-page comic drawn on that. You need somebody to talk to. But I get those very, very rarely because I am very fortunate, and I'm feeling very appreciative of all the fantastic people that send in cool suggestions. So this one was Halloween number 58 from a fellow named Blake. It's I did this a little while ago, but I never got a chance to finish it. And then I learned how to do color holes. So I got to have a lot of fun with this, with changing what the line was in this project, so that I could put the gray in the mask and the dark blue on the clothing. And it was the first time out. I changed things already. If I could, I changed the general browns to blacks in here and little bits like that. But for the most part, I'm kind of pleased with learning color holds and having to figure out how far I could take it. So this was a good experiment for me. So I put this out on Friday. Yep, Friday. The page that I was supposed to put on Friday ended up being a 2-page comic. And so because of that, I bumped it back a day, put it out on Saturday. And that is It's Always Us. And so this is the pencil drawing that I started doing on Thursday. And I just got so swept up in this quick story idea that I carried it over to a 2nd page. Hence there. So a little bit of color at the end, just to jazz it up. And then, of course, the text that runs through the piece, it's the same color base as the landscape in the last panel. So good fun in the sun. Next one is Sunday's comic, which is No One Thing to Be True. And this is the page that I had started drawing on Friday. So you can see how my days jumped a little around just a little bit there. But considering I had the grandkids all week and was still managed to put out a page a day for this, and then still get relatively done on the other things that I needed to do for other projects, I'm okay with it. And I had a lot of fun. So I'll show you the original materials for these in a second. Well, let's start here. Let's jump cameras. So this is the original pages for, let me switcheroo. So this is the original pages for the It's Always Us 2-pager. And so I drew all of these little aspects on a couple of sheets, even going so far as to, oh shoot, I ran out of room for his legs. So I put it on the next page. So all of these elements are what you see over that 2-page spread. And actually putting this together and scanning it and putting it into the system is when first time we discovered race, turns out it's us. That was a suggestion. And so when I was putting this together, this is when I learned how to do color holds. So, in the pile. And then the next page, which is, jump back for a sec. Jump back, go and goose myself. So there's one. And 2. So there's those elements that you just saw on those 2 pieces of paper moved around in order to be able to do this. So on Sunday, I did this. Now, Friday, well, this is when I posted on Sunday. I did, I had all this stuff done Friday, Saturday. But this is the page where on Friday I had started doing mixed media stuff. And so that's what this is. So when I was doing these, this is the cards that I put some tape on, put some Post-its down, just messed around with the surface a little bit. Wasn't actually even conscious of whether it was line side up or down, and ended up drawing a bunch of spooky pictures. There's the first one that I did on the Friday, and I just kept going. It's a cave, don't go in there. So that's what these are. And just scanned them into the computer, separated them out, and assembled them together into the piece, and talked about the idea of if ghosts are real, we're in trouble. So, I'm sorry I'm missing stuff. I apologize, guys. Oh, it's Gary. Hi, Gary. How are you? So that's what ended up being this one. So, next. Then on this morning, I started posting A Man Walks Into a Bar. And A Man Walks Into a Bar, now I've got these here. I'll show you these. I'll start with this. So A Man Walks Into a Bar, I was only able to show the first page because Instagram would not let me show any others. Even if I tried to post them singly, it was just being a complete troublemaker this morning. So there's the first page, second page, third page. And this is where I continue to have my running joke that I like to do. He takes a snapshot on his phone. I like having people in the background of scenes in my books take pictures of whatever is happening, just because I think that's what people do. So he takes a click of this guy when he says that he made this the world we live in, and then when the guy starts revealing the big reveal at the end, he takes another snapshot of that just before his demise. So a ridiculous piece, but the originals for this are just drawn on regular old cardstock paper. That's my notes. I always write the script down in notes. So this is suggested by a fella online here. And so I drew this on 6 pieces, which I've condensed into a 4-page bit. So far, even going so far as for the last 2 pages to connect together and drawing those as one. And this wasn't even an instance of I don't have any large paper. No, I just, for whatever reason, I was enjoying working in this approach. And so I was quite pleased with it. And I think it's a fun piece, but those 4 pages are, if you go on my Patreon, and I list my Patreon on everything for whatever pointless reason. And if you go on there, I've got these available to take a look at, all 4 of them for free. So that's 7 pages this weekend. So that was fun. And then in addition to that, this is Dee Dee Willingham's fault, by the way. So I finally got lino speedball pieces and lino cutter blades, and I've done my first stamp. I've done my first homemade stamp in I don't know how long, a bazillion years. And I did these with my grandkids. And so the grandkids drew on some stamping. I got some lino, and then I etched these out for them. So Dee Dee has a thing where people are doing stamps and then trading those this month. And so the grandkids, has put together their own, so we could just get bonuses. I don't expect 30 stamps or whatever in exchange, but because we're gonna give 10 of each, right? And then I did these are the stamps that I put together for that. So I've got 10 of these suckers that I put together. And then the other thing that I get a kick out of that if you've ever watched her stream and you've seen Dee Dee start talking about Barbies, she throws up a man card. So I made a man card, and these are all mixed media. There's tape in there, and there's There's paint pen and there's stamping ink and then wash ink and paint pen. But I made her a man card so that she can use that for her when she's doing her thing. So, and now I've got a couple more pieces of linoleum. Linoleum, that's what it's called. That I'm gonna get at with the engraving tool and make some more of these suckers. But yeah, productive weekend. Largely because you get pent up when you're unable to get some work done. And I know that this is a good weekend for focus for a lot of people. And a lot of farting around for a lot of people too, right? And sometimes that farting around energy is what you need. Sometimes you just gotta break out and do something different. Like this week, I'm putting together our bicycles so that we can go for bicycle rides. And I have a big bike just because it's a California Cruiser, and it's an old pedal bike, pedal brake. I'm really excited to get on it. It looks like a motorcycle, because that's how I roll. So it's ridiculous. So this has been a really productive weekend for me, and I know that Gary, your stream was missed, but when you put an announcement out saying that it's because you're buckling down and focusing on work, I'm like, excellent, love it. That I'm glad to hear about. I had another stream that I occasionally check out, and somebody's like, just don't feel like doing one today. I get it. I get that. If you don't like it, too bad. Unsubscribe. Yeah, this is just fun. And it's fun to engage with each other in a sense of community. But you don't need to be doing that nonsense. That's just silly. But I thought, good for Gary. That's great. And I was really knuckling down and putting it to the grindstone this weekend just because I've had kids all week. Love them. But I'm doing that stuff. Hey, Jim Luan joined us. Sorry. How are you, sir? How you are there? Hey, how's your movie going? Hey, man. Okay. So, yeah. Lots of little scribbles and scrabbles here. So, where's the book? Trying to keep track of 60 things today. I've had a busy day today of, hey, Chris, why don't you try getting done all your paperwork and all the things that you've been slacking on there, Jack, because that's done. So, yeah. Gary says, Cub's going well, but I'm hell-bent on finishing by the end of the month, and skipping the live streams makes that more achievable. Good for you. I'm really happy to hear that. I really am. Not that you're not doing your live streams. I'm happy to hear that you're chasing that down, because that's at the end of the day, that's the most important part. Whatever obligations we think we have, we don't have a lot of them. What we do have is ambitions, and we've got our own expectation of what we want to accomplish, and I think that's the core principal part. Is we need to work on whatever projects as creative people in the way that suits us best. There's a lot to be said for everybody having their own unique process, and as much as people go on each other's streams and joke about, so are you finishing this or what? And sometimes it's friends, jesting with one another. And then sometimes it's just people that you don't entirely know that are, hey, when are you going to get that done? And yeah, things get done when they get done. We all work at different speeds, and we all work at different things. And nobody can really understand that. That's why I think process videos are kind of interesting. Whether it's the conception videos where you talk about the structure of things and work through that, or because that's kind of what Gary does. And then there's the process updates with the sketchwork, the initial concept stuff, and then moving into some more progression animations and stuff like that, like Jim has started doing. That's exciting. Check out their channels. Look for their names in the chat. Check out the channels, anybody that's here. And then this madness, whatever I'm doing, I don't know, just plugging away, right? everybody has a different process. I know one person that posts every single thing that they doodle or scribble, and some of that stuff's really rough, like so rough that you look at it and he's like, check it out, a new drawing I'm working on. And it doesn't, that's not a drawing. It's just he's on a page. And you sit there and you look at it for a couple of minutes and go, yeah, I'm not sure what that is. But at the same time, when he gets to the next stage and he posts that, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, I'm starting to see it now. And then by the time he gets finished, it's a really lovely work, but his process starts so zany and loose with zero explanation. What do I do with that? Good job. Because you want to be supportive of people, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know what that is. Not that you should be able to recognize stuff always, but check it out, here's this. And he's a storyteller guy, and you would think that there would be some connection to the telling of story beyond just, there you go. Like it or leave it, pal. Yeah, so anyhow, so yeah, good stuff. 7-page weekend. That's what this weekend was. 7 pages done of stupid 1-page silliness, randomness. What do we got here? Jim says, Gary and I have talked about this before. Process, videos, or diaries can never interfere with the actual work, actual getting the work done. They should always be ancillary. The work is the important thing. Exactly. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that people, like especially yourselves, are having conversations about that, because there's too much. We live in a world now where it's all about feed me. It's a little shop of horrors is what's out there now. It's the constant demand of what's next, what's this. And the unfortunate truth is the amount of time it takes people to do stuff, and the flippance, and this works in a couple of different ways, pardon me for a second, but the flippant way that people just, brush through or flick through or flip through those visual images. While they might not necessarily mean to be discourteous, the last thing in the world I think ever counts for anything is other people's commentary on the execution of the process of something without knowledge or some affinity with the processes that it takes to make those things. So I tend not to listen to anybody's, well, it would have been great if you had done this, inputs on finished work. Just because, all right, well, cool. That's, yeah. Because I know there's things that we're always going to see wrong. And there's things that we're always going to look at and go, well, I'm just going to stick it out, I guess. I don't know. Something's not right about this, and I got to go back and rework it. But then there's those hungry little giant plant monsters that, it's not even I'm not necessarily talking about people that are waiting to like whatever you're doing. I'm talking about having to meet up to algorithms and all this nonsense. Constant conversations about the algorithm wouldn't let me this. And I see posts about this all the time, and who cares? It's my mindset, and it's probably why I'm not a big successful guy, big acclaimed guy. I got my own measure of things going well, but I'm not one of these guys with 60,000 people chasing me down, because what is that, right? What is that? Does that really matter? Is that at the root of things? I'm missing stuff here. Sometimes, lean in for the pause. People get really involved in their project preparation or documentation because they're a little afraid to actually get started on the actual project. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So one of the things as a publisher for RP Comics here in London, whenever anybody comes up to me and goes, so I got this great comic. Cool. Yeah, I'd love to see that sometime. Okay, well, no, It's not done yet. Okay, well, let me see when you got it done, or if there's ever anything I can help with. Let me know. Well, let me tell you about the whole thing. It's like 7-issue arc, and I'm like, oh, if you got it written down or drawn or no, just let me tell you about it. I'm like, no, that's the last thing in the world I want. I want to encourage people to just do something. I appreciate all of the preparation. I appreciate all of the ideation that comes along, but get to it. You really got to. If we're going to do a thing, we got to get to a thing. It's the same bias. I saw a really fantastic video, and I will try to post the link for people that have interest in that. I saw a really fantastic video, but this is specifically about design, design work and graphic artist work, right? Oh, thank you, Gary. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I'm not alone in that. 7 books. I do not want to sit here through 7 books. So you got a surfer, right? He's got water powers, right? So, anyways, I watched the video, and this was talking about elitism in that specific field or that creative film, right? And I don't want to be one of those guys. I never want to be the elitist guy. I always want to be that person that's open-minded and wants to hear about things. But at the same time, I can't sit through a 7-book idea that he's had for 20 years. Just do it. Do something. Sounds terribly flippant, I know, but we got to try. There's always one guy at every con I go to that wants me to listen to this 15-minute description of a thing he hasn't started and honestly probably never will. Yeah, there's always that. There is always that, and recognition of that we all have, of course, about the fact that sitting down and doing the thing, that's challenging, right? But at the same time, we've got to take a moment and just try to sit down. If we're gonna do this thing, sit down and make some application towards it, whether that's even just jotting down the structured note of the project or getting into scripting next. But once they just start doing something, I think that they'll find they're on the road to doing the thing itself, right? As opposed to, all right, so I got this epic I'm writing. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings. It's a big one. It's like Lord of the Rings. There's thousands of people in these armies. Oh, yeah, you want to draw that for me? Draw what? Yes, thank you, Jim. Yeah, there's just start something. Do something. A lined notebook. Make notes, make scribbles, do actual structured drawings. It's impressive to see how that steps into that next stage. I mean, one of the things I got a kick out of is how Jim Lewine goes and sits down and he draws a guy and his head and his torso. He doesn't have arms on him, but Jim's drawn the arm right here beside him on the page, and he's drawn another arm with his hand open, and he's got another arm over here with beer or whatever it is, because he just started drawing one part of it and then started putting together all the aspects, all the assembly parts to make up to take it to the next step. And I think that more people need to think along those lines on whatever project they're doing. So, but I just found that really interesting about seeing Jim's sketchbook, that he had that in there. The reason that I do the 1-page comic suggestion idea isn't because I have a shortage of ideas, because if there's anything, this noggin is overloaded. But Gary, there's a surfer who's got water powers, right? Good afternoon, Philip. So the whole article, the video essay I watched about elitism and graphic design and commercial work, about the arrogance that some people believe that they need to have, or the overconfidence to the extent that Gary says no more snarkiness. I don't care about snarkiness. There's nothing wrong with snarkiness. It's a thing. It happens a lot. you know, elitism is a real thing where there's an arrogance or there's a self-aggrandizement that happens in this industry. And at the same time, there's like a flip side to that where it's kind of there's an over identification of self that happens too. And I think that in turn makes some people question themselves on where they are in that spectrum of am I arrogant or am I, like I hate when you see people that are working for companies like the big spandex set companies or even the big indie publisher companies. And, they talk about everybody else as amateurs. And I'm like, you're ridiculous. You were that person who was self-publishing or whatever else. That doesn't make you an amateur because you're not working for one of these established companies. And I hate when people are that disingenuous to one another, especially if they were once in that position. And at the same time, I hate when somebody has the affordance of opportunity to self-direct, right? Or they have some sort of, and what I mean by self-direct is like the Runciman Press Company we started. It was really important to me in because I'm writing and illustrating books and I'm putting them out, and my wife and I started Runciman Press just so we had a little stamp on it for when I stuck books out. It was really important to me that as soon as we could, we started opening that up to other people and putting together anthologies and giving other people an opportunity to have their work in print so that they could go on to, distributing, publishing, paying companies and get themselves work, because all we're doing is selling them regionally. I'm not even driving across the city to put these books in other places. We're just selling them in the core downtown area. And it went really well. And the sales of books would pay for books. And we just kept doing more books. Are we doing thousands of copies and making an income off this? No. But realistically, never was that the intention. The intention was always just to try to give people an opportunity to find self-expression. And so there's no part of me that can really walk around and go, well, of course, I'm this guy who owns this thing. One, because it's not my makeup, and two, because it's not that big a thing. So, when you meet people that produce what they produce, and there's still a humility to that, and there's still I'm doing this because I'm having fun. I like that. I like that a lot. And, there's, or when you hear about established people that are largely recognized on a North American level or something like that, and you find out that they're doing projects with people that are up and coming, come on, how great is that? But when you see people that are have got that big elitist ego, right? Or they have this I know more than you do thing. That's rough. I have a hard time with that. Okay. Chris is complaining. Gary's talking about no snarkiness from him, and here I am, Mr. Oh, I'm going to stand on a soapbox and yell about everybody. I just think it's important that whatever we've got, whatever skill sets we have, and whatever inherent abilities that we've got, the knowledge we've gained along the way, if we can share any of those things with other people, and if you figured out how to do something and somebody says, I want to do something, and they've got something tangibly that they've put some effort into putting together, of course you want to say, well, here's how you do it. Right? Of course, or you got to go about and do this and this and this. And if you look at this place or that place, they'll give you far more insight. But even with that in mind, in this industry, I mean, in the 80s, the whole industry was completely different than what it is today. The entire industry was based on small indie black and white publishing enterprises for these indies. And nowadays you got all these Kickstarter nonsense, and you got all these companies you give them $1,500 and they'll put your comic out online for people to buy, which relatively minimal scope of return. You're really just paying these companies to just format together a book that you did. And the only thing that you're really paying for is their distribution nodes. So the whole industry is largely changing. But at the same time, there's wonderful democratization that happens so that people that do independent works can get larger connections to other people to read their material. Whereas before it was largely monopolized through specific distribution nodes. Okay, so let's. What am I missing? I'm so sorry. I'm trying to keep up. No more. Hey, Phil. Gary Hodges. I'll get to this one in a second, Joe. After a handful of years doing this, I still feel like the best advice I can give anyone who asks is simply to start working. It's 75% of this, just starting. Big star, absolutely. Absolutely. Big star to this one. I'm not specifically referring to Gary at all. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about there's a challenge where sometimes that sounds like my bias. I'm glad Gary knows that Jim's fooling, but there's my little biases I wear openly, right? And there's fewer things that I can stand than somebody who's in a position of some manner of authority and lords that over other people, which is always problematic. And that sort of elitism, I know better than you do thing, as opposed to the real affordance of opportunity of saying, wow, that is really weird and out of left field. That changes the game. Wow. And if you're not open-minded to that, you're never going to see somebody do something. It just takes you. That's important. That's funny. Seriously, let me explain all the lore I've written about my fantasy kingdom. It all begins about 15,000 years before the story starts. Okay, Gary, I'm taking notes. Go ahead. We're going to write this book right now. It's fantastic. Oh, my. You guys are on fire today. I like this. I like the ability we have to share. I want to get the only reason that I don't have it set up so that people can just jump in to the stream, because this is something I want to get into moving forward. I was really affected by Philip Chandler's address that he made recently, talking about here's what I want to get into this year. Here's what I want to get at this year. And it made me start thinking about that, because I'm not that guy who plans ahead. And I think I want to open this up to have other people come in and engage all the time, because it's really enjoyable, right? It's a really enjoyable process. And at the same time, it removes the idea of me feeling at times like it's I'm a talking head, right? But at the same time, we have to measure out what we're doing, because I see other streams where people are, why is that person on that stream with you? What are you, get them off? What are they doing? Because it's not, they're not there to do stuff. They're there just, I'm chatting at you, right? That's not what this kind of stream is. So let's see. I've gone through the book. There's Citadel at the End of Time, Cause and Effect, and Rock and Roll Librarians. Now, that one's from, frankly, Mapleton. Gary says, I'd love to pop in from time to time in a couple weeks. Excellent. Yeah. No, of course, when you're all set with your stuff together. I definitely want to have you come on once you get the book. You finish that last page and you're coming. You're invited to come in. Let's chat. Let's chat when you got that done. And deedly do. I would love that. So I'm going to open that up a little bit. Where was I? Okay, yeah. Suggestions that are standing right now. And if anybody has more, throw them at me. Frank came up with Rock and Roll Librarians. And so I was talking to my wife on Sunday, and I was talking about, there's a couple suggestions on the plate, and I haven't, I tend not to plan those in advance. And there's some fun ones, one about time and one about rock and roll librarians, just because that term stuck in my head. Some term I just spit out my verbal garbage last week. Jim's going to write a song about it. It's like when a term hits you, you got to do something with it. But rock and roll librarian stuck in my head, and my wife goes, like roller derby. I'm like, okay, well, guess who's drawing that page now? Jim says, Gary, on an unrelated note, have you been back to Bite-Side Studios? We all need one of those. Oh, I'm sorry. Brightside, the ultimate coffee shop and art hangout in Phoenix. Huge place, great creator vibe. Is that right? That's cool. That's cool. I like that. London's not big enough for that. We used to have stuff like that in the 90s, but it's all gone. It's all gone. It used to be some cool shops. Some friends of mine had a shop called Frais Corporate Culture, and it was exactly what that was. That was an artist engagement place. But I can't think of anything since. I literally can't think of anything since, because London's having a huge identity problem where I live, where we've got massive problems with drug epidemic that unfortunately is being addressed as a homeless epidemic. And so the people that are having some serious challenges are not getting the help they need. So, we got to figure that out and get some people well. All right, so with this in mind, Rock and Roll Librarians is the page I'm starting on. Gary says, Gary is going to spend a lot of time writing his next book there. You're going to have a waitress coming over your table. You want another refill of coffee? What are you writing? Is that like a story or something? It can be that. It's going to be one of those. Is that homework? That's my favorite. Oh, that's fantastic. You know what? I was going to go to Bethesda, Maryland for SPX. I was going to apply for SPX this year. And, but they've still got, hey, you're wearing a mask all weekend. No, I'm not. We'll try next year. But I was going to see, how many people in the States, how relative that is to where people live. I didn't know. Or maybe I'll go visit people in other places. I've gotten to America. Let's run all over the place. But like, that guy's different. How can you tell? He's wearing a parka. He must be from Canada. He sure looks sweaty. For whatever reason, I started penciling first. I don't know. But this is a first panel, of Rock and Roll Librarians, suggested by Frankly Mapleton. And the great thing about Frankly Mapleton as a name, a Canadian name for Frank, is that anything he says to me or asks me, I can always fit frankly. Frankly, I'm doing great. It's such a groaner. I realize it's a groaner. That is my groaner. So, all right. So, so I'm starting things off by putting together a librarian. And the problem with doodly pencil, and I suppose it's just getting down and drawing in ink, is that I always tend to be overly forgiving with myself and start changing scales all the time and not paying enough attention to it, just because with pencil, hey, you can rub it up and do it over. I really appreciate that offer, Gary. I think that's pretty awesome. I don't know when I get a chance to come to Arizona, but that's definitely something that I would come and do, is come and hang out with you. You're up for it, so just stand over you at your desk. You done that book yet? Huh? Just stand there, snarky face. That's the kind of support we all need from each other, eh? Dress as a librarian and smack a ruler in my hand. Oh no, I guess that's a teacher. That's a teacher cliche. So, yeah. I appreciate that. That's a fantastic offer. I'll take you up on that. Anyways, I'm not going to do SPX this year. I'm not doing TCAF here in Canada. That's just not happening. There's just a different sort of objective in my mind right now, and that objective in my mind is to not be too hung up on going to these shows and going to all these engagements and being this guy. I'm really kind of keen into working, getting a body of stuff done. So as of this morning, I've got 80 pages finished now. They're not all one pages, though. That's the problem. It's not 81 page comics because there's a 6-page, there's a 4-page, and there's 2 or 3 2-page pieces. And, you know, when please, this is a thing that I really want to make clear for anybody that has any thoughts on this. This isn't, again, me going, well, I've done all these things. This is me sort of saying, I got to figure out what to do with stuff. I'm out of the routine of books finished, put together books, release book. And because I'm not interested in doing that in the manner that I've done it before. So I've got to figure out what to do next. The 1-page volume 1, I'm almost out of. I'm almost out of copies from the print run of that. It's not complaining. It's also not a huge print run. But now what? If I'm going to do it again, I'd rather change it up a little bit, because this is the problem about self-publishing is you always want to editorialize. You always want to, well, I'm going to come at it from a different perspective, and this time we're going to, you want to change things up, noodle with everything. And, I need to really plan and focus on proper outputs, and I need to plan and really focus on course of action a little more clearly, I think, this year. And so the stuff that I'm doing, I'm going to do to the best of my abilities as I go along, but I'm also I don't have a set due date on things, and I don't have an objective. I have to release anything by a certain date, and that's the first time I'm ever really doing things like that. So we'll see how long that lasts. But because maybe I'm being a little ridiculous on that front. Maybe I need to have some expectation for myself. But in order to do all that, that means I got to slow down on how much I'm producing and spend more time focusing on all of the business stuff that had quite honestly burned me out. So what I need are magic elves. And if anybody's got some kind of line on magic elves, I need a cupboard full of magic elves that, they come out and go, hey guys, hey, thanks very much for doing that. Hey, no problem. Can you pay us some jelly beans? What can go wrong when you pay people in jelly beans? Which, by the way, is what I've informed my entire family are the details of my will. Is who gets my jelly beans. What do you mean jelly beans, Grandpa? Like your stuff? No, jelly beans. My stuff I'm leaving all to the Institute. No specificity about what the Institute might be. But if anybody knows where I can get elves, or if I don't want to offend anybody's sensibility, if it's brownies, pixies, whatever, hey, I'll try to convince those Keebler guys to stop making cookies and help me out a little bit with, getting these things out. But I'm really proud of myself today, because I sat down and I put together 4 mailings that have been sitting there. 4 things to be mailed out. And yeah. And one of which is, hold on, I'll show you, is the stamps. In case you weren't here at the start, there's a stamp swap that Dee Dee's doing. So my grandkids made some stamps, which is super fun. We did little linoleum cutouts. Well, I did the linoleum cutting out part. And then this is a stamp that I've got for people. I made a monkey. And then I don't know if you've seen, whenever Dee Dee starts on about Barbies, somebody has to throw a man card at her. So there's a man card. Yep. Fun in the sun. Okay, so first page is, I think I want to change. I would rather change the if I look at this panel like this, okay, so here I am here, right? Now, if I turn this panel this way and I draw the rest of this character with their waist down here instead of their waist right there, what I'm trying to do in this reassociating the direction of the page and direction of their body is to try to connect to the idea that they're leaning all these books on themselves, leaning back. So those are the little sort of noodly things you think in your head as you're working on stuff, right? And so I'm going to do our stereotype cliche, very bookish, tightly tied back hair. You know, I got to do the little frilly. I'm going to have to do the frilly, the neck, just the kind of awkward blouse that, you know, it's got the crazy neck or whatever there. I don't know what you call that. If you're a frilly necker thing. Blouse. And some fun folds and whatnot in the arm. I'll get into those with the ink. But the idea here is to represent the stereotype of the librarian. So my intention with this is when somebody comes in and sits down with said librarian, who is the rock and roll librarian, and says, you know, here I am for a book. This is my conception for the page. She says, can you help me find this book? And what's the book title, sir? And then you hand her the slip of paper that says the book title on it. And she shouts, girls! And then a whole bunch of women come out from behind the bookshelf dressed for roller derby. And they go, you know, skating through the whole library, grabbing the book that she asked for. Rock and roll. There needs to be this big soundtrack of music and lights flashing and all kinds of fun. But so it's got to start out. It's got to start out light. Got to start out simply, right? With librarian at bookshelf. So, you know, maybe I grab a ruler. Who knows? Gary, the same goes for you and anybody else. Jim. Well, Philip, you live in Ontario, but if people are up this way, come on by. Come on by. I got an extra room. Yeah. You know, it's kind of a nice thing. Canadian, come and see what Canadian comic bookstores look like. They look like American ones with more snow. Maybe not, but I'm excited for tonight. Tonight's the London Comic Jam. And the London Comic Jam is a thing that I run at a local art gallery here with a friend of mine, Doug. And we sit down. It's an all-ages event. We have all kinds of people come in, families and people on their own, and people that are genuinely interested in, hey, I want to make some of them comics there, fella. And so we go through the process of making some of picture books. Some people talk about their work. We got one guy coming that's trying to work on an animation. Whenever he starts talking, he becomes the most sullen and disheartened guy. And, you know, I so much so that I don't want to ask him how it's going, because the last time that he was there at the jam, when the other fellas asked him, "Yeah, how's your animation going?" Which is, you know, well, Jim would know about this, Jim Luan, if he's still here. It's it's a process, right? It's with anything we make, whether it's prints, posters, books, whatever it is. It's a process. You done that? But when people say it as, "So you done that film yet?" Oh no! Don't do that. So yeah, he's no, and it just looked like he was so exasperated. So I want to make sure that nobody. I'm trying to make sure that nobody does that to him this week, this month. We do it every month. All right, so book. bookshelf, doo-dah, doo-dah. I have an empty bookshelf sitting, so hey, books go in here. So, but yeah, I'll get all this cleaned up, fix all this up in the edit. I seldom really want to draw in pencil and in ink it anymore. I tend to just want to get crack-a-lacking on stuff and, do what I can do. I'm going to have another librarian going in this room so that I can have somebody come out of this room. Jim says, I'm never bothered by silly questions, only flattered. Then I move on. Yeah. Although my favorite, one of my favorite art cartoons, right, is a little cartoon that was in a newspaper, and it has a person walk up behind an artist, and they're both looking at the canvas, which is we're facing the back of it as the viewer, and the other person's doing this, and they go, that's pretty interesting. So what do you do for a living? That's my favorite horrible art question that people spit out, like hot fire. No thought towards what that would be in the head of the person doing the thing. Okay, so establishing bookshelves and the environment. And so I was thinking about putting a counter in front of her, but we'll see. So there's a start of a panel 1, just sort of roughed in. And so the idea is to have a hand holding a billet. And, somebody's got, I'm looking for this book. And so they put their hand forward, right? So you just draw that panel of them handing that off. There's your thing, your paper. So, yeah. And then, of course, the librarian standing facing ahead. I'm just going to sketch this out quick because I've been blathering on for a while. So let me get some structure together for people. So there's the billet being passed forward. And there's the thumb and the hand and the doo-dah, right? So here's the librarian looking at it. And then I want to do the shot of the librarian assessing it. Right? Or should be looking down and having that, whatever we got here, kind of a look. And so I've got in my house, I've got a library cart where it's full of books for all the new releases and stuff like that. And the only reason that's not in my studio right now is because half of my studio space is a sitting down and chillaxing space for my wife and I. But if this was all studio space, it would be in the center of the room for all these books you're supposed to be reading, Jack. Just resource stuff on there. Anyhow, I'm going to put some more books in her hand and then a bunch of books on this cart in front and draw that. So she's trying to get a look at your note and then have her assessing the note in her hand. So then the intention of the next page is for her to go, girls, and then, the whole bottom part of the page is it's roller derby. It doesn't, I know that this might not necessarily make a lot of sense, but, maybe I'll just even have her shout out a Dewey Decimal Classification. I don't know. Can I get a FA2 76? And these girls are going to come flying out. So that's the top part of the page. And then the bottom part of the page is going to be the rock and roll librarian. This is the roller derby rock and roll part. But I really want to figure out, make it a little more space for myself here. I really want to figure out. See, initially I'd intended on doing this whole thing in watercolor. I might still, just for scuds. But what I want to do is that whole, when they're going around the corner thing in roller derby, and if you're a roller derby enthusiast, fill me in on what that means. When they're going around because I think it's a circular track. So what corner are you talking about, Chris? Come on, man. But yeah, I'm going to have a whole bunch of librarians dressed up like they're roller derby people. I often get weird questions when I'll do signings or, when I'm at a thing where I'm, really honestly hawking my wares. It's a signing. I'll get questions from people because they don't know, I think, and because they're genuinely interested in, hey, that could be a thing I might want to do. And they'll ask questions that are, kind of random. But I do get asked those things like, is this seriously what you do all the time? And it's sort of half incredulity and half, really? And then you get some people that are like, man, I wish that's all I could do. I'm like, have you ever done this thing? No. Just start. Just have some fun. Oh, just start it. Just do it. Whatever. Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot to the process of it, but it's never going to start for folks unless we just start down that road, right? What do we got? Wait a minute. What? Can predestination and that could be. Oh, free will. Thank you. Can predestination and free will coexist? Well, I think that's an easy answer, Jim. Josh Campbell was on his stream last night, was playing people talking about flat Earth and debating flat Earth. And, I kind of look at predestination and free will conversations as be the same as flat Earth conversations. Hey, whatever, I guess. You want to believe the world's flat, you do you. Yeah, so I was advocating that the flat earther had convinced me. That's it. I agree. I agree with whatever he says. I'm in. He's told me something, and he's right now. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what he said, but just thought it was fun. Just having some fun. Just for fun. Okay, so the idea is that these ladies are come flying around the bookshelves with the grabbing the ticket, and off they go looking for the book, right? Gary says, I don't know how Josh can do it. Yeah, it is an awful lot of different things at the same time. Philip says he was having more fun reading the chats. Oh, that's good. Paul was really funny in those chats. I was getting a kick out of, Paul. I was having a little too much fun. It's hard for people that might even go be serious about, I can't believe this situation. And this person's wrong on this level. And meanwhile, I'm like, he's convinced me. I went to parochial schools and had endless debates with creationists and things, and gradually came to the realization it's silly to engage. I guess so. There's all kinds of situations you'll find yourself in life. And when I was a teenager, I really I watched every special that George Carlin had done. And there's just this realization that I came to listening to George Carlin's comedy is that at a certain point, just, yep, walk away. Yep. You're right. You got it. You got me. The funniest response, I said that my response in debate is to cross my arms and just repeat, well, that's your opinion, man. And that's my standoff position, which is, of course, ridiculous, and I don't do it. But I did do this once. And the thing about some of these behaviors is that I don't look at these as, hey, I'm so great. I look at these as, I'm not entirely pleased with myself for having done this. But at one point, somebody had gone on about I don't know what. We get people that come to the comic jam, and some of the people that come to a comic jam, they're just excited to be at a free event and, to be able to talk to other people. And so if we can help people break through their isolation, that's great. Except if they just spend the entire time blathering in somebody's ear about what, unfortunately their dissociation leaks out, because it's not a case of just a person trying to reach out and being awkward or uncomfortable or nervous, but we're talking about a person with dissociation. And I try to, as gently and with as subtle and nuance as I can, sort of encourage them that draw something or get out. Not quite like that, but this is a drawing event. Are you drawing? Oh, I don't really draw. This is a drawing event, right? But there's the one night he's like, well, let me tell you all about this. I'm like, you, no. That's my whole response. And I just, yeah, that's a pretty mean way to shut somebody down. Was that guy a flat earther or a flat earther? Think about it. Jim's on to something. What if there's a secret conspiracy amongst flat earthers between the flats and the earthers? Like, there's got to be some hardcore extremists in everything. So maybe flat earthers don't believe anything's round. Like, I can't look at basketball the same way. Soccer? Wrong. That's not real. 20th Century Fox are the ones that started to lie with that whole airplane flying around the globe. Yeah. Or whatever movie company. I don't know which one that was. All right. So I'm just trying to get some of that pose down here for that. Hey, look at me. I'm a rollerblader. Roller derby. It's just no, I guess it's skates. Roller skates. Is anybody here remember roller skating? Did everybody here have at least an opportunity to try roller skating once in their life? There's something that I can't quite describe properly, and that is the feeling of when you put on roller skates, the heavy clunkiness of your feet is there's a very specific thing about that with roller skates that you don't find with any other thing that you put on your feet. Rollerblades, I'm sure, somehow associated. It's just something about the absurdity of the round trucks and the sound that trucks make specifically. And the heavy clunkiness that you're always going to hit something, another part of your body, with a skate. It's always going to happen. It's one of those tactile memories that is very unique to that specific thing. That specific thing that flat earthers don't believe in. Dee Dee Willingham says, I loved to roller. Hi, Dee Dee. I loved to roller skate back in the day. I think I was about 12, and my friends and I were awesome at skating. Gary says, I never got good at roller skating at all. But as a kid, Skateland was where like half the birthday parties were, so I learned to skate on roller skates while playing arcade games. Dee says, we went around a turn really fast, and I saw a wheel go rolling by, and I said, look at that, someone lost a wheel. Oh, no, Dee, was it you? Oh no. Yeah, bam. Yeah, we had a place in London called Wheels or Two Wheels maybe. I can't remember what it was. Wheels Skate Park, whatever it is. It was just basically somebody had taken a warehouse and poured concrete, like the whole poured concrete floor. They built a little 4-foot wall around the extremis of it, roughly the size of like a hockey rink. But rather than making it a hockey rink, or what maybe it was at one point in the 50s or 60s or something, but you would just go around and around and around on roller skates. And then the outside area outside of the rink, they had those lights in the floor, very 70s, very 60s, 70s. And it's like, oh, check it out. The floor's got lights. And I used to just love just riding, just rolling over those, looking down at the floor, and inevitably doing a face plant off the carpet as soon as you hit that seam between the two. Does anyone remember Advanced Skate Only? Oh yeah, that's where I stood at the side and watched some guy spin around like a Looney Tune. Advanced Skate Only, kids. And it's always the guy who's always been skating backwards the whole time and talking to his friends as he's been skating. Now he's doing a dance routine. You remember slow dancing with roller skating? Anybody? Where you're going around and around in a rink with your sweaty hands and clasping onto another girl's hand, just desperately trying to keep going around enough because you're not a good skater. You're listening to "Turn Around Every Now and Then I Get a Little Bit." Anyways, there's some cool vids now, skaters, and they're awesome. They sure are. You know what I'm really disappointed by is in a lot of these films you'd see this Los Angeles view of all these people skateboarding and skating on the boardwalk and hey, there are all these people that are just having fun and all these zany character types and then I just saw this expose recently about what the state of this place looks like now and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, that's where people would ride around on roller skates. Well, there's no roller skating anymore, folks. Just such a bummer. Because they'd show clips of videos like, here's where Huey Lewis and the News had one of their videos. How did I miss this? Bought myself a new pair last year with 70s flowers all over them. My family won't let me use them. Hey, Paul Pate. I just got here. We went skating a few times for the last couple of years. I'm a terrible skater. My wife was just buzzing by me. Oh, boy. So, Dee Dee, Paul wants to know if you're going to use these skates. So do I. Come on, Dee Dee. I want to get a couple of people in here in the setup to one, show scale that they're all coming out of a place, but also to give a sense of motion and movement. They're flying around these bookshelves, but I want to figure out the physicality of these librarians first. It's kind of a. I'm sure that whatever notion was initially intended for this, I've kind of taken yet another sort of leap to the left again, but you gotta have fun. Everyone's scared that Dee Dee's gonna break something. Oh, what? They've got flowers on them. How can they be mean? Paul and his wife can't hold hands because he doesn't want to pull her down. Yeah, if there's anything that my wife is not looking forward to, is the idea of having to pick me up in any way. I think if I was just hey, let's go skating at a skate park, and she just look at me and go, I'm not picking you up. That's not happening. Then I'd have to find, ridiculous size skates. So that tends to keep me from doing anything. I can never find rollerblades of my size. When the rollerblading thing was going on, so I couldn't go rollerblading with my daughter because Mr. Stupid Big Feet here. That's what I call myself at night when no one else is around. You stupid big feet. There we go. Secret Skating, starring Dee Dee. It's a mini comic that Gary would read. When I hear Open Arms by Journey, I think of eating. When I hear Open Arms by Journey, I think of eating with a girl. It's a big move. Oh, no. Yeah, you know what? That was one of the songs that we went around the rink to. But Bonnie Tyler's the one I always think of the most because it's just the most ridiculous. Hey, I hope your hip's doing better now, Paul. And you get one more in here, and then just to push the. Actually, I want to have this person because I want to put their arm forward like this. So I need to. I want to play with scale just a little bit more. And I want to just get a little more feeling of momentum in the page. And the debate, of course, is do I draw them in stereotypical librarian wear, or do I draw them in roller derby wear, or some kind of weird amalgamation of the two of them together? So I'm pushing one leg forward and I'm pushing the other leg, foreshortening that other leg back. Drag leg and the lead leg. And then I'm going to move this foot out. Try to, imply that twist. In fact, if I do anything, I'd push this leg out even more. So as close as I think I've come to drawing any sort of super-duper thing here is dramatizing this. Action pose at 11 o'clock. I'm missing a whole bunch, and I'm sorry for that. Santana played all the time at Dee Dee's. Nowadays, they play songs like Milkshake and the Kids All Go Nuts. Music kind of sucks these days, except for Taylor Swift, of course. What are you talking about? Have you not heard Nickelback? How about Celine Dion? Gary's slightly younger than Jim, so hanging out with a girl while listening to With or Without You. Gary Player Hodges. There we go. Perhaps Don't You Forget About Me. Good stuff. Good stuff. Was that considered classic at the time? I don't know. I remember roller skating the Karma Club. Or Karma Chameleon Culture Club. And that was cool. Oh. Of course, I got to put everybody in helmets. It was skating, not eating. No, it's eating. It's eating from now on. Oh my goodness. With that, Paul's out. That's a mic drop. Gets in on there. Okay, so here's the librarians. And so what I need to do for this image is to sit down and throw in, use a ruler, Chris. Hey, that's a good idea, Chris. So I'm going to cut in right here a little bit into that so that this one is clearly behind the bookshelf. And then and I'll have the bookshelf move this way. But right here, to identifiably push the idea that it's your standard typical library, we're going to have the classification system for the row on the side. That reminds me of the George Costanza line when he started taking time off when he was in line for a promotion. My presence does not help my chances. Oh, there we go. Look at this. Autocorrect is the West. It's fantastic. And gets a star. Yeah, I don't do autocorrect. I just type poorly. That's my secret. I'm just a bad typist. All right, so there's going to be this bookshelf. You know, carpenter part of me starts thinking about, well, I'm going to put a raised lip on the bottom of it there and have that inseam, that push-in. Yep. So, yeah, and then we'll have, I think I'll have the counter here. Yeah, I'm trying to think about how do I populate this, because it's going to be, they're skating in the library, right? So I've got to have, like them in the with the little additional roller derby accoutrement on top. I think I want to have them in librarian wear. The problem is that, you know, the cliche of the, you know, the flared skirt or whatever it is. So we'll figure out something. I have at least one of them in it, but I want to keep the legs in there so you can see the fact that people have to push off with one foot, right? That's how I push off. Do this. So yeah, so there is the structure of, I want to have, as the one girl skates by, here, so as she moves by, and she's grabbed the ticket as she goes by, just hashing this in really loose. So I'll blur this out here. But as she moves by, and I'll have the other librarian, so she'll have the billet, and I'll have her with the open hand. Ow. So it just slid and hit me in the toe. My eye! So I'll have her hand up as the girl moves by and has taken the billet, and then the final page, or the final panel. So I'm moving over to another page here anyways. Is going to be a standard rock and roll. Yeah! She's going to find that for you. That's it. And I'm going to try to put up some visual graphics around as the ladies come skating out of some musical notes that bend around them like this. To show that as they come out, of course, there's loud dun 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 dun. You know. Little April wine for you. One of the things I like doing in the car, and my wife and I are driving to whatever, is that what is it? Yeah, okay. I like to talk sing along to ridiculous songs. You know, or croon. I like to croon along with songs too. I like to put a little Dean Martin sting on some April wine there. I like to rock. I like to rock. You know. We listen to a station out of San Diego all the time in the house here. It's KABL. Ching ching. You always hear the trolley sound because it's from San Francisco or wherever it is. And they've got every version of every performer that's ever wrote a song about, San Francisco. It's San Francisco. And so it's the only place that you can actually hear on the radio somebody, like a radio station in modern times, playing Dean Martin singing, "That's why the lady is a tramp." I can't believe that's on the air. But they play every song anybody has ever written about San Francisco is played on that station. So yeah, so the dialogue is she'll get that book for you, or they'll get that book for you, one or the other. See, this is again one of those ideas that I push out to a 2-page story because a moment later the ladies go flying by again on their roller skates and hammer whoever the viewer is in the chest with the book. Back into the room, the door closes. Slam. Shh. One of the librarians says. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I try to keep daily 1-page bits just to 1 page. So this is a fun layout. This is I'm looking forward to going through and finishing this all off and getting more specific about the panels now and trying to get some of that drawn in. But it's the layout. It's the figuring out the beats of your story and figuring out those challenging parts of it, and assembling those together that lets you. Then once you get that done, once you're done that process, then it's just literally telling the story. So I got the guy with the thumb handing the billet. If we want, I could take suggestions on what you think the funny book should be that he's trying to get a copy of. Oh, the other thing I'm going to set up is something that Dee Dee has inspired me about. Is I'm going to start doing draws on the thing here. I'll start, offering the opportunity for people to get originals. Just because, why not? I got plenty of them kicking around. But that was a fun suggestion. Well, fun promotion that she does. It's people like free stuff. What do you offer me there, fella? It's a bowl of macaroni. It might not taste as good when I mail it. All right. Dee Dee, I don't know if you were here at the start, but I showed the stamps that we're mailing out today. I don't know if I've done this wrong. But there's the 2 things that you can expect. There's the stamps from the grandkids, right? So we got 10 of those to go in the package. And we don't expect ones back for that. And then there's 10 of these with the monkey. And I'll hold that up. So there's tape and I mixed media those suckers up because I can't help myself. And there's a man card for you. Man card. Man card. The kids, theirs bleed out a little bit. So I don't know. We got to think this through. I don't want to wreck anybody's stuff. Okay. So I'm just figuring out where fingers go. Fingers is tough because there's a whole bunch of them. They put them all in the end of a hand. So I'm thinking I might just scan this, do all this rough setup and scan it and just ink it all digitally. That's what I'm thinking. Thinking. Raised eyebrow. See, this is where I get to show the hair and the bun at the back. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you like that, Dini. Gotta figure out her hairline here. I had a split like that. I'm gonna give her some age lines as I go. And we get some of these books gathered up and just trying to balance them. Yeah, so definitely going to be doing more regular visits with folks on the stream here, and I've had a couple of people ask about you want to come and join their stream. Yeah, so I think I'll do more of that. People are open for it this year too, and I got a couple of asks that I'm going to follow through with. One of them is really silly, but it's I'm in. Who are we kidding? I'm in for everything. This stream's called Chewing Baloney. That's all we do on the stream. You ever do this? Just quickly pose your hand and try to think about what it is that you're drawing. Hands too big. Shrink that down. It doesn't work. You got to do it this old-fashioned way. There we go. So she was looking at put the book trolley in front of her. And then there's the, oh, girls. Oh, girls. What about tinkling a bell? Anybody think that sounds silly? See, I started unconsciously drawing the dead mother from the Facts of Life here. As soon as I started going, oh, girls. are we at? Just checking time here. We wrapped it up a couple seconds here. I think I'm debating on whether or not I have her. I think I might have her go ding-a-ling-a-ling with a little bell, just because to me that's just, the right kind of silly. And I like challenging myself to have to draw these silly things like tinkling a bell, because there comes the fun of, well, how do you show that the bell is actually, being rung? You can't have it just hanging down, right? This doesn't tell you that this is doing anything. This just says this is a limp pencil. But if I have it like this, where it looks like it's swinging at the bottom, right? And this sort of angle like I've drawn here, hopefully that looks more like, hey, that bell's being rung. And it's just kind of silly to ring a bell in a library. Oh, girls. That's how I spell girls then. Should be with a Z. Come on, Chris, wake up. All right, and then do the ZZ Top. Lean and look. As oh, you know what? I'm sitting there baffling myself about as I'm drawing this. Is that she's wearing these big crazy glasses. I'm like, why don't her eyes seem right? Because you don't really see the eyes. I draw eyes. I draw glasses. Oftentimes, I'll draw them as opaque, just flat circles, and as opposed to showing, or sometimes I'll show, the eyes as sort of a diffused value in there. But I like the idea of drawing glasses as opaque shapes. Now that's just a bunch of whoops. Nice. That's awesome. Thanks, Jim. So there she'll be. And the gal goes past her. And she's got the slip. So I'll draw the slip moving through. And I have to decide if I'm going to have the ladies in goggles or not. The little things like that. But again, I'm going to figure all that out in post. In the digital world. But getting it all down here, getting it all structured out. There's the elbow pad. Sorry if that's not. Gotta remember to keep things in the camera. Tighten that face up so, I just want her to be a blur of movement, of motion. All right. Well, that's good. That's fun. I got the page structured out. So I think that what I'm going to do at this point is sit down, scan these out, put them in the computer, and just have some fun tonight. Because, it's can't, I got to shake it up. I got to try to keep loose and keep open about all kinds of different approaches to books. And so I'm going to draw this one to finish drawing digitally. So what I'll do is I'll scan it. I'll put it in the computer as a layer. And then I'll lay a translucent layer over top of that and just do all the finished pencils there. And but because I've got all the structure established here, and I can change, I can move these characters over here, and I can move that over there. I can fit this one down here, down below. So yeah, you can see the sort of the foundation of the page to start with, and you can sort of get an idea for where you're going with the story. And rather than spending too much time having really specific images like the first one, and again, put a little bit of investment into the first one so that I have a standing under a comprehension of what that character is and what that environment is. But rather than in this penciling stage, breaking everything down like that, if I know I'm just going to go scan it in there and have to go over it again, because I'm doing both aspects of that process, it's just far easier to keep it loose and keep it open. So, other people, bearing in mind that other people, they want really tight pencils before they go to the really tight ink stage. And that's fine. That's fine. It's however it works for the individual. I tend to want to keep it loose because I get really bored inking the same thing that I draw. That's why I draw in pen a lot, so I don't have to ink it again. So, you know, this is fun. This has come together pretty well. Yeah. Oh, comment for the tagline for today is it says, don't forget to ventilate your studio. The stamped cards that I did to get finished off today so I could get those sent out for the stamp swap that's going on through Dee Dee's channel. I sprayed those with workable fixative outside. I sprayed outside like a responsible boy. And when I brought them in, it was seconds before I realized that the fumes that are coming off those things were still pretty strong and pungent in my studio space here. So I had my windows open wide within the minute, and because I just haven't done that in so long that I just completely stank up my studio. So that's why don't forget to ventilate your studio, especially when you're using aerosols or sprays and the like. Okay, so I'll get this thing scanned now and put it into the computer, and I'll get scanning it tonight. I've been thinking about coming on tonight about 10:30. I've been thinking about just doing the stream tonight and working then. But I don't want to interrupt anybody else's streaming time, and I kind of established this is the time I do my thing. But I tend not to show the other half of things. I show the front part of doing a page, and then you see the finished page. Ta-da! It's made entirely by brownies or elves that I pull out of a cupboard. So I thought maybe it'd be more fair if I did that. So, I might be doing it tonight. I will let people know. I'll put an advance up before I go and do so. But in the meantime, I hope everybody has a great day. And thanks very much. If you've got one-page comic suggestions, please feel free to put them in the comments for this video or for the comments on any of the social media things. Or in the chat during the video. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this. This is my wife's fault. Frankly, the suggestion was rock and roll librarians, and I just mentioned that was a funny suggestion, and my wife immediately said, "Well, roller derby." So that's why we're doing this page the way we are. See you next time, Gary. See you. Cheers, all, Philip. And see you later, Dee Dee and Jim and anybody else that stopped in. Yeah, otherwise, if I don't come on tonight, I'll see you tomorrow, 2 o'clock this time. And if you're up for it. In the meantime, keep creating. I really look forward to seeing what you're doing. Bye for now, everybody.